Hello, and welcome to another episode of the BKP Creator Club podcast. I am your host, Bobby Kearns, and today we are talking all about the importance of your circle and the community that is around you. This is an episode that I teased to in the past, and I'm really excited to jump into this because I've got some stories about how personally my community has really been, helpful, and the people that I've known, and just the overall importance to me of connecting with the right people and having the right people in your life and close to you. So I am super excited about today's episode. If you want to I tripped over my words, but I'm gonna keep it. If you want to stay on the lookout for future episodes, then definitely give us a follow on YouTube and on Instagram. We post, clips from future podcast episodes as well as all daily content, whether it's, our tips that we give, creator tips, or just reels that are specific to Instagram and stuff. So give us a follow there, and then you'll be the first to find out when we actually launch some of the resources that are going to be helping you in your entrepreneurial or content creation journey. So without another doubt or another pause, we are going to jump in to today's topic. So the importance of your circle. I think that having the right people around you is one of the most important things when it comes to your success. If you have the wrong people around you, it can destroy your life. Not even in a metaphorical sense. In a literal sense, having the wrong people around you and being in association with the wrong people can impact your life in very dramatic ways. And depending on who you are, can have, different implications to, based on the people that you know. Being connected to the right people can also just give you a way better peace of mind than if you have problematic people. And the support that you can get once you find your people is honestly everything. So we're going to jump into a couple of, just bullet point ideas that I had surrounding this topic. And as always, I definitely want to hear from you in the comments down below about your thoughts on this topic. So first thing that I want to address is that people in your life will drain you if you let them. Now, the first couple things are just overall things that you should know about people. And the first thing is that people will drain you if you allow them to. Now, what do you mean by that? Now, some people in your life are only there to take. That's all they're there to do. Some people are extremely selfish. Some people recognize that you are going somewhere, trying to go somewhere, have certain talents, have certain skills and abilities, and they don't actually care about you. They only care about what you can do for them. And I know we've all encountered people like this in life, but sometimes it's hard for us to recognize when those people are closest to us. And I've gone through some interesting things over the past couple of years where I have definitely had to weed out some people who were not providing any real benefit into being into my life, and they were only taking away. And sometimes people don't intentionally do it. Sometimes people's intentions are not, they're not out here, big brain, trying to, manipulate you intentionally or whatever. That's just who they are. They are people who are not actually providing any value to you. And it is okay to recognize that and realize, oh, this ain't it for me because I get nothing from this. You only take from me. And I've had a situation, one very specific one that I'm thinking about, where it kind of just got to the point where it was more of a financial thing on my part, and it wasn't anybody that I dated or anything like that, but it was just someone in my life who I was the person who things ended up falling back on, and I am a kind person. I'm a very kind person, but sometimes you don't recognize the signs of you being nice being a problem until it is literally too late. And it became too late. And yeah, it cost me a tremendous amount of money. Like when I say tremendous, it was a tremendous. I'm not going to give numbers or whatever. It was a tremendous amount of money. And that is one of the things that has caused me to realize, like, oh, people really can destroy your life if you allow them to. And it, at the end of the day, is you allowing them to, because no one has to have access to you. No one has to be in your circle. And so understanding people are not for me. Like, everyone is not for me. This person might not be meant to be here. That is okay. You get to control who is in your life. And so that's biggest thing number one. Don't be afraid to, analyze who's around you and understand, like, oh, you are just draining. Second thing goes right into that, is that it is okay to let go of people. Sometimes people feel like just because someone has been in your life in the past and you have a connection with someone and all those things, that it's you don't have the ability to kind of sever ties and let go. You can always let go of people, because at the end of the day, are you living your life for other people's happiness, or are you living life for your benefit and like enjoyment? Like, do you actually want to live a good life for you, or do you want to live a good life as long as it makes other people happy and enjoyable? That's not what we're here for. Like, so sorry, but like, we're not here specifically to only please other people through our life. That's not the goal here. Like, you deserve happiness, even if that means having to separate yourself from someone else. And even when you're looking in the grand scheme of it in business, especially if you have goals and places that you want to go, sometimes other people just can't go there. And that's my third thing of, everyone can't always go where you're going. As business owners or as creatives and, different things like that, we have a different view on a lot of things. Some people are 9-to-5ers. Love a good 9-to-5er. Like, can't complain, nothing wrong. Honestly, if you are a business owner, you need 9-to-5ers, because you don't want to eventually, be having to run everything on your own forever and ever. You eventually need people to come and work for you. There's nothing wrong with wanting to work a 9-to-5. However, everyone in your life is not going to view your entrepreneurial or creative goals in the same way as you. Some people just can't wrap their head around needing to own your own thing as far as like a business or a creative. Some people just can't. Some people literally do not care about owning a thing. Like, they're okay with just going and working for someone else and, clock in, clock out. You got your responsibilities when you go in, and you leave, and you make your money, and you do your thing, and you just save, and some people are okay with that. There is nothing wrong with that if that is what you want. However, most entrepreneurs, almost every entrepreneur is like, I absolutely not. I can't do that. And a lot of creatives are like, hey, the thing that I want to do, some people do want to take it, the full way. Some creatives are just like, I would rather keep this a hobby. And there's nothing wrong with keeping your creative thing a hobby. Don't ever let someone tell you or try and force you into feeling like you need to turn your creative thing into your full time if you don't want to. Because sometimes when people do that, they end up hating their hobby or thing, and you don't want to risk that if you didn't want to make it full time in the first place. But if you're one of those people who just sees things as like, I have to do my own thing, I have to put in this much effort, this energy, and all these things, then yeah, you're not always going to line up with all the people in your life who are okay with just, clocking out at 5 and going and, doing whatever. Especially if you're not full-time for yourself now, but you are striving to leave your full-time job and go, eventually do your own thing. That sounds like to me that you're currently working a full-time job and you're trying to do your thing on the side. You may not have as much in common with the people from your job who are just going out and doing whatever afterwards, and when you're going home and, putting in another 6 to 11 or whatever, trying to get your side hustle done and stuff like that. And so understanding that everybody can't go where you're going when it comes to coworkers, when it comes to family sometimes, when it comes to friends, when it comes to all that. Just because I've known you for years does not mean our lives are going down the same path for all time. That's just not it's not the case, and it's okay to recognize when, the fork in the road is becoming too big and we can't keep holding hands. We gotta separate now. It's okay. That doesn't mean, you have to cut ties with all the people who aren't, meant to be walking side by side with you right now. No, that's not what that means. But it does mean that keeping them in your closest immediate circle sometimes might be holding you back because you're trying to live life like they do, and you need to be living life like how you want to actually, in the way that you want to live it in order to accomplish the things you want to accomplish. And so that's one of the main things, is like just realizing, hey, it's okay to let go. Everybody can't go where you're going. The next thing would be that family is important. Now, I understand that everyone does not have accepting families, whether it's from something that you can choose to do or something that you can't choose. Everybody does not have accepting families. My family is the best. I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't relate, and that's okay. I love my family. My family is in my life. We rock hard. But I understand that some people are like, I can't talk to my mom. I can't talk to my dad. I can't talk to any of my family because this, that, and the third, and they're all valid reasons, and you shouldn't be forced to obviously, have to talk with people. Chosen family is a thing, and people that you find that just work and they are your family and that is your support system, that is amazing. And for you, that can be that is your family. But family and having those people who are the closest to you and your biggest support system and your rock, those are the most important people. If you do not have those people, trying to seek out those people is important. But it's also important to not force people into positions that they did not ask for, or that they are not ready for, or that they do not want, or maybe not even comfortable with. For example, I've had plenty of people in my life who I've known, and we're just kind of like, we're acquaintances, but they think we're like super, super great friends. And I'm like, I guess I'm okay if you think that, but like, I barely know you, but like, we're not these super close friends where I like anything can like, that's just not, what we are and stuff like that. And then I do have friends who I've met over like the recent years, and I'm like, yeah, you are like a super close friend, like definitely. But there's some people in your life who will try and force their way into a position in your life that is like, oh, that's not what I thought this was. We're going to have to like reevaluate this. And then it gets more awkward because it's like, I didn't ask to be here and stuff like that. So in your chosen family, just make sure that as you are connecting with people, you never want to be the person that other people are having to back away from because they feel like, whoa. So just understanding, reading the room, reading the vibes, but absolutely, chosen family is one of the most important things you can have, especially if your real family don't vibe with you. And so I'd say finding that and understanding and having that rock solid, support system, that is key. In entrepreneurship and creativity, it's a pretty big thing. Support is sometimes very hard to come by. Now, I guess in this next section, I kind of want to talk about my specific experiences when it comes to like the convenience of having chosen, good family, good friends, and all of those things. I'm going to talk through probably like 4 or 5 examples and stuff like that. Because my life is very interesting. So one of the first things that come up that I didn't even write down, because I've got, notes and stuff over here that I didn't even write down, that off the top of my head. So like I said, my family rocks real hard with me. There have been 2 specific instances that off the top of my head I can think of to where my family has come in like the most clutch of all time. So this was, the first example is in 2021, I believe, and I shot a conference down in Atlanta. And this was a conference, and it wasn't really like an entrepreneurial like super it was entrepreneurial kind of, but it was more for like moms. It was like a conference focused around moms, and whether you were just a mom or whether you did business and you were a mom, or other things like that. And I was hired to do photo and video, I believe. Was I just hired to do? No, I was just hired to do video, and because they had a photographer, I was hired to just do video. And the package that I sold them on was with a second shooter. At this point in time, I did not have a consistent second shooter. Like nowadays, I have like 3 or 4, like 5, maybe like 6 people that I could like go down a list and call on who I like trust to actually be able to come along with me to events and like shoot things either in my style or close enough, whether they can lead shoot or they can second shoot or whatever. Like I have people that I can trust. Back then, didn't really have those people. I knew photographers and I had people, but like I had one person, I believe at this time, my friend Ray was like my go-to, but I don't think he was available. He couldn't have been available because I would have brought him otherwise. So either he wasn't available or he couldn't do it or something like that. And so this was kind of during the time where it was like, oh, I don't really have this real support team that I need to be able to have in order to be able to fill something like this. But I've already kind of booked the thing, so I'm gonna find somebody. Who am I gonna find? Well, turns out, my brother came in clutch. My brother is 6 years younger than me. If you are on my Instagram at all, you have seen my brother. He is the one that helped me build this set back here, and he's helped build something else here at the studio. I can't remember what else he helped me build, but the box from it's not here at the studio, but he helped me build a box for a photo shoot that I did with a band, Big the Cat. Great band. Go check them out. Big the Cat. Spotify, YouTube, the whole thing. But he helped me build some of that stuff. But this was before he was doing all of his woodworking and any of that. And he decided, I think he was like maybe 18 at the time, because this was a couple years ago. But either way, he tagged along, came and shot a 3-day conference with me. It was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This was all day. So like it was in Atlanta, so we drove down to Atlanta. And we got there at around like 2 or 3. We filmed till like 9, and then we woke up the next day at 8, and we were shooting till like 11 p.m., 11 or 12, and then we woke up the next day at 8, and we left. We were done at like 2, because we had to do like interviews after and stuff like that, and then we drove all the way back home. He worked with me for free because even though I was charging for it, I did not have the budget in order to be able to actually pay someone, because finances was crazy. Especially this was 2021. This was still COVID times and all that stuff. Didn't have the budget to pay him after that. And that was also part of the reason why it was going to be harder for me to find someone who could actually go and was like an experienced videographer. But he went. He was a second videographer. He did great. Literally no one knew that he was not someone who was actually on my team, and someone who I had already done this with before and whatever, because we can fake it. We can fake it till we make it, because that's sometimes what you have to do. I had all the faith in the world that he would be able to do specifically what I needed him to do. Part of it was like I gave him a mic and a camera, and he would set up at like the red carpet areas or something like that, and he would give interviews and stuff like that. That's easy. You just press the button, you have them talk, you check the audio levels and the focus, you're good. He did a bunch of those. He would go around and get B-roll with my secondary camera or whatever. I didn't need a lot of his footage, but the fact that I had someone there to fulfill the contract, most important thing. Speaking of fulfilling contracts, that is also what happened. I believe this was in a wedding in the beginning of 2022. So 2021, my brother filled in on a conference that was in Atlanta for 3 days. Then in 2022, I had someone who was supposed to be my second photographer, and I believe they either got sick or couldn't do it or something like that, and this was kind of last minute, and this one was down in Charleston. And so my dad came along. My dad literally went and bought a camera. He bought a Sony camera because he wanted to. He really needed an excuse to buy a camera, to be honest. So he went and bought the camera, and then he tagged along with me on this wedding day, and he photographed an entire wedding down in Charleston as my assistant, never having once come along as an assistant on my, one of my shoots or anything like that. And it went well. For weddings, a lot of times I don't need a second photographer. So the second photographer does not always have to be as experienced as me. That's also one of the ways in the creative community where we give opportunities to other photographers who maybe are not strong enough to be lead shooters, but you can still come along and get some secondary angles and stuff like that. Well, I took that to the extreme because my dad is not a professional photographer in any way, but he does have an eye for photography. So I was able to bring him along. He was able to help me, not necessarily the whole time with like shooting as much, but he was also there to just be able to be like a helping hand. I think during this wedding, we had like 10 minutes to do, it was like 10 or 15 minutes to do all of the bride and groom portraits right before they went in to get announced for their reception. And the sun was setting and the wedding the wedding planner was like on us like the entire time. I think it was like 10 minutes that we had, because literally I took them out one door, we went one spot, we went around the building, and then we went to the front of the building, and we were like boom, 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 and then we were like we taking pictures as we were walking back into the room. I was like, look at each other, smile, look that way, look, and I walk as we were walking. It was crazy. But my dad was actually able to help carry equipment and move my flash and get things in position and stuff as I was trying to, orchestrate how the photo was going to go and planning for the sunset and all those things. And so that was really helpful. And yeah, that's just two examples of how my family has come in clutch. They have done over and beyond over the years and still continue to. Even though I have a team, my family is at the forefront of that team, and I am very grateful, for that. Another person who always goes above and beyond is Shea from the Lux Company. That is my cousin, for those of you who did not know that. Me and her work together all the time, with me providing stuff for her brand. But behind the scenes, what you don't see is that she is always there supporting me as well, even though I don't need my nails done. My partner gets nails done, and so it's like, okay, well, there you go. There's, some free service and stuff like that too. But even just having someone to be there to communicate that, with on the entrepreneurial level, and like that understands the ins and outs of like, hey, these are the daily struggles and stuff like that. Our suites and stuff like that in our building are right beside each other. So my studio, the wall right beside me is her nail space. And so it is very convenient on days where like I'm here and stuff like that. Sometimes we get to have lunch together, and that is my closest person when it comes to like understanding what other people are going through as entrepreneurs, like, and having that connection. That is my closest person. That's, ride or die. And so that is always amazing. Outside of those, like that immediate like family and like close like best friend group, I have some other crazy things, and I'm not going to have as much time to go into like all of them in super depth, but there's some interesting stories when it comes to community that are just really crazy and interesting, and how like shows how my life has kind of like gotten where it is. And the biggest one is how I met one of my other really good friends, Shane. So Shane Lane, he is a comedian here in Charlotte. Go follow him online. He's Shane O'Lane on Instagram and TikTok and all the other things. He's a comedian, and I met Shane. If you've listened to the first episode of this podcast, I told you guys that I used to go to open mics and take photos at the open mics. I used to go sit front row, take photos of people, and go up to them afterwards and either offer to sell them to them or give them to them for free if they were to tag me. Shane was one of those people that I went up to back in like the beginning of 2019, and it's kind of crazy because I went up, took some photos of him as he did his set, and he was great. I thought he was hilarious. And so I went up to him afterwards, and I was like, yo, can I, I took some pictures of you, here's all this, stuff like that. But I was also like, do you want to like hang out? Because I definitely saw him, because he was so funny, I saw him as an opportunity to just connect further like down the line. There's a lot of comedians there. He stood out to me. And so we ended up connecting and hanging out over, the next like couple weeks or whatever, something like that. I'm pretty sure that we went to go see that Jordan Peele movie, Us. We went to see that in theaters like a week or so afterwards or whatever. But Flash forward like a couple of months, Shane gets invited to a or to host a comedy show at a bar that was like in Plaza Midwood area, and he had me show up and take photos of all the comedians and some of the shows and stuff like that. And I was like, cool, this is great, because we had obviously met in the past doing stage photos and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, that's cool. So he had me come out and take photos of one of those shows, and then that was the same bar, Single Barrel Room, where I got to take photos of the headshots of some of the comedians who had either been on shows or whatever. I just got to have a headshot day, and I got to do like headshots with like, I think only 3 or 4 comedians ended up showing up or something like that, but it was still good for me because I was able to use this bar as a really great backdrop for a bunch of people's headshots. And so I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so flash forward to like a couple weeks, I guess, and the bar tells me, hey, we have drag shows here on, I guess it was like Wednesday or Thursday nights or something like that. You should come out. And so I ended up coming out to one of those and doing photos for that as well. And that bar was great because they couldn't afford to pay me, but I was a newer photographer at the time, especially when it came to like, I wasn't full time yet. So I was doing this on the side, really trying to build a portfolio. So I was doing comedian stuff. I was doing headshots. I was doing whatever I could do. So I was like, cool. Drag show. I don't even know what that is. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do it. I showed up. I took photos. I delivered the photos back to the bar. That night, that show was raising funds for Charlotte Pride, which was having their festival like the next month. Well, Charlotte Pride saw the photos and hired me almost immediately to come and be one of the photographers at their festival and parade. Please note that their festival and parade is humongous. It is the biggest parade in Charlotte, I'm pretty sure, and one of the biggest festivals like uptown Charlotte. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure that year it was like between 75,000 and 100,000 people. Like, it was ridiculous. And so I had never shot anything remotely on that scale before, but I worked so hard in order to be able to, get all the photos that I needed and stuff like that and deliver them all and stuff like that. And that went really well. And that is one of the biggest events that made me realize that I could quit my main job that was also in photography at the time, but I was working for someone else. That was one of the main things that made me realize I could quit that job and do what I wanted full time, because, hey, if I'm getting opportunities like these where I can shoot these really big events, that would be really great. A couple of months later, after I had quit my job, basically, Shane hit me up and let me know, hey, he was currently living in a condo, like a 3-level condo with 2 other roommates. So there were 3 total people in the house, and one of them was moving out. And he was like, hey, we have an extra room open. And I had been over their house, during that time and stuff like that. So he was like, hey, if you're interested in, moving out, from your parents and coming here, you could totally do that. It was like 10 minutes away from my parents' house. It was a good location for like where I wanted to be. It was right like in the university area, in the college area, if you know anything about Charlotte. And I 1,000% jumped on this opportunity, especially because the rent was like dirt cheap. The rent was like, because there were 3 of us and it was like college area, the rent was like $350 a person. And it was a multi-level condo. I had the basement level with the biggest or second biggest room, I don't know, biggest room in the house with my own bathroom. So that was a plus because everybody upstairs had to share a bathroom. Biggest room with a bathroom. The washer and dryer were on my level, and I had a door to the outside, like to the back, area, like behind the apartments and stuff like that, or the condos. So I was able to come in and out as I pleased, unless I wanted to, go upstairs and use the front door or whatever. I basically had my own like studio apartment in the basement of a condo in university area where there's tons of things in walking distance, including the campus. And so it was absolutely amazing. I don't live there anymore, which is why I'm giving you all the details to, this place and stuff like that. It was amazing though. And it was $350, which was the biggest blessing of my life, because 6 months later, after I went full time, and 4 months after I moved into there, COVID-19 started, which meant I did not even have any job security, even though I didn't have any job security before because I was already working for myself. Now, literally, the entire idea of my business and all those things faded away. And so having cheap rent, obviously being with my parents would have been super convenient because, no rent, but have moved out into a space that was that conveniently set up with still only having to pay $350 and having the ability to be able to figure out what I was going to do to be able to bring my business back. All of that set up and all these things happened because I met Shane at an open mic. That really goes back into the first episode when it talks about like creating your own opportunities and stuff like that. You never know what's going to happen when you connect with someone. And so offering someone some sort of value, which I did when I approached Shane. I had already taken some photos of him, showed him that, heck, hey, this person that's approaching me, I don't know this person. And also note, Shane had just moved to Charlotte like within the past year, I'm pretty sure. So he did not know like a lot of people and stuff like that because he had been in Florida before. And so this was super convenient for both of us because I'm connecting with someone who I think is very talented as a comedian. He's connecting with someone who is literally just walking up trying to give him free photos. The connection was there. The value was there. I ended up getting housing. I ended up getting one of my best clients in Charlotte Pride, who I still work with today. I'm literally shooting their festival and stuff like in a month or something like that. But I've already shot like multiple things for them throughout this year and last year. And you never know what connections are lined up for you and what opportunities are going to come from the people that you know. A couple of other really quick rapid fire ones that, have worked with me. I have done mentorships in the past and I've worked with newer photographers and stuff like that. Either I've mentored them or I'm just like friends with them and stuff like that. And I like give, occasional advice. Two of those people are Alicia and Maria, and they're great photographers in their own right. And I've worked with Alicia for years now on like specific like mentorships and meetings and stuff like that. But Maria, I've only like helped out occasionally and stuff like that when it comes to like advice on like website or like advice on these photos and like how to edit, occasional stuff, but not like a full mentorship. Well, both of them have come in super clutch in the past. Both of them have second shot with me when I was in a pinch, but very specifically things that come to like immediately to mind. I had a shoot where it was recent too, where the trigger for my flash broke. And I am a big off-camera flash person when it comes to events and different things. You'll find me shooting with the camera with one hand and then the flash in the other hand, and I'm moving it around and doing the whole things. And my trigger broke for a really big event. It was a 4-day conference that was the biggest client that I had in 2023 last year. This was a massive client for me. And like a couple of days before, my trigger just decided it didn't want to work. And I didn't want to risk ordering one off of Amazon and it not arriving in time. And I think the camera store, I don't know if they had one or something like that or another. And I was just like really concerned about like how I was actually going to get one that worked with my stuff. And then I remembered, oh, I know Maria. Let me see if she's actually using her trigger over this weekend. And luckily, she wasn't. And so I was able to drive to her house, pick up the trigger, go shoot this event, and it saved me money. I eventually did have to end up, ordering another trigger, but she saved me a lot of money and a lot of stress from actually not having the ability to capture the photos in the way that I needed to. Maria, or Alicia, on the other hand, she's helped me on multiple photo shoots, but it's kind of the reverse in the story that I'm about to tell, because she had a family emergency happen like the day before or like the day of it was the day before a wedding that she was supposed to be shooting for one of her clients. Now, I had met this client because Alicia was going through my mentorship at the time. And so I had actually second shot on the bride's engagement session with her. And so I had met the bride and stuff like that or whatever. And the day before, or like 2 days before or something like that, Alicia calls me and she's like, hey, I got a family emergency. I don't think I'm going to be able to make this wedding. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. And it was the day before my birthday, and I had I was originally supposed to have an event that was that day, but they had just moved off of that date for some reason, and I was supposed to be taking that day off because it was the day before my birthday. And I told her, I was like, don't worry about it. And I swooped in and I took that wedding that she was supposed to do, and me and Maria went out and shot that wedding, and that was a great wedding. It was really good, and the community that especially the three of us have built, me, Alicia, and Maria, that is really what it's all about when it comes to being there for other photographers and other creatives and being able to bounce ideas and being able to understand specifically from that photographer viewpoint what things are like and being able to just help when you can. I mean, that's one of the most convenient things. And one of the last things that I want to talk about is one of the opportunities that has, come my way from being in a great, creative circle and stuff like that is Gavin, a photographer here in Charlotte. And Gavin, I've known Gavin for probably about 2 years or so, and we've never hung out, even though we realized like a couple of months ago, like our studios are like 10 minutes away from each other. I don't know why we haven't, hung out and stuff like that. Honestly, the lives of creatives were really busy. Even if people are in, more of your circle of like people that you know and kind of like associate with and vibe with, sometimes you just don't get the chance to hang out. And that is one of the things that I want to fix with this BKP Creative Club. More to come. But Gavin has been a great, not only like just person that I've known, but a great friend, because he's done podcasting in the past as a service that he's offered for other people. But recently, he decided, I think it was top of this year, he was like, he has 2 podcasts that he's already, doing for as himself. And he was like, these podcasts are getting some numbers. I would love to focus primarily on my own podcast instead of also trying to produce podcasts for, a bunch of other people. And so he decided he was going to refer multiple of his podcasting clients to me, just as I started primarily offering podcasting services and social media content and all those other things. And 2 of those referrals have actually come to me and are now regular clients. And that is something that it doesn't happen often in the photography community because a lot of people are really afraid of competition. And I hate that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm starting and, doing this whole creator club, because there's enough for everyone to make it in this creative industry, especially as photographers and videographers. There's more than enough. There are enough models. There are enough families. There are enough birthday sessions. There are enough graduates. There are enough businesses. There are enough events. There is enough everything. I cannot shoot every event. There's tons of times where events come my way and I'm like, yo, I can't do it. And I will refer them to another photographer I know. I'll refer it to a Gavin, or I'll refer it to Maria, or I'll refer it to anybody, because if I can't do it, then what do I look like, keeping the bag from somebody else who I know is very skilled and capable of doing that thing. But that is not always a common thing. Sometimes people just really don't want to collaborate and connect and stuff like that. And I think that's a thing that we really need to get out of as a community of creatives, is being stingy with the knowledge that we have, being stingy with the opportunities, being stingy with just information in general, and just collaboration. That needs to be a consistent thing, and maybe other people don't think so, but I think so. And that is one of the reasons why the BKP Creator Club exists, is to try and bring in a lot of that community that I want to exist. And so if you are interested in, being more part of that community, not just as creatives, but also entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs and creatives have similar things in mind when it comes to content creation. We are all trying to master the art of photography and video. The deliverables are just different. If you're an entrepreneur, you are shooting for your own personal brand and you're shooting to try and showcase whatever it is for your business. If you are a photographer or videographer, you're trying to understand these skills to then go and use them to make money off of selling those skills. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to master either using a smartphone or using the professional camera in order to create something. And so that is what I want this platform to be, is the union of all of these people coming together and trying to learn and be better. So if you're interested in that type of community, be sure to leave a follow. Subscribe. What do you do on YouTube? You subscribe. That's what you do. You subscribe and give this a like. Share it with anybody who you feel would benefit from mastering who is in their creative circle and understanding, how to find opportunity through being connected to the right people and all of that. Send them, the previous episode where we talk about opportunity. Send them this video where we talk about the circles. And until next time, happy creating.